Fold, Flip, Ring, Watch, Buds. Samsung's got 7 new devices across these 5 categories going into late 2024, and I've spent a short time with all of the new Galaxy toys, so here's my initial takeaway and thoughts on why you should or perhaps shouldn't care about them. Let's not waste any time and jump right in with the biggest and priciest of all, the Galaxy Z Fold 6. So the first thing that struck me about the new Fold is just how well built it feels. Take even a cursory glance at this thing and you can see Samsung's not chasing the super thin bandwagon like some Chinese manufacturers are. And the new Fold does feel appreciably chunkier than a typical flat phone, even with the reduction down to a 12.1mm measurement when closed or 5.6 opened out. But physically what stands out is the quality of that construction. This feels like a sturdy phone that's going to stand up to everyday wear and tear. Samsung's gone all matte across all 3 colors of Fold 6, while also introducing a more angular aluminium outer frame that's almost reminiscent of the S24 Ultra. Likewise, the display borders and chassis generally are less curved than the previous gen, giving it a sharp, no-nonsense look that I really appreciate. The look of the Fold obviously has been evolving over the years, but I think this particular model has one of the more comprehensive design overhauls we've ever seen. More than the looks though, Samsung has improved durability across the board with a new dual rail hinge for better shock distribution. Typically that hinge area is where the screen would break if it was going to break, so this should help to protect against that. And the inner screen has an enhanced folding edge to better protect against sharp pressure like your fingernails or any grit that might get stuck between the screen. And the motion of that hinge feels really nice too, sturdy with just the right amount of resistance for a device that feels solid, dependable and well made. Samsung's promising a less noticeable crease too. Difficult to judge in the short time I've used it for so far, but take that for what it's worth. On the spec sheet, the Fold's got some typical generational improvements, a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 naturally. I already mentioned that it's marginally thinner than the Fold 5, but Samsung has also shaved a little bit off the weight too, putting it only 6 grams shy of the S24 Ultra. And the display gets a nice bump up to 2600 nits of peak brightness, though without the fancy reflection cancelling technology of the S24 Ultra. And the display size on both counts has been boosted by slightly trimming down those internal and external screen borders. Not a huge difference, but nice to see all the same. The cameras get a welcome upgrade too, in addition to the refreshed camera trim design you see here, with a new 50 megapixel primary sensor taken from the S24 Plus and a refreshed 12 megapixel ultra wide that's better in low light. That's paired with what seems to be the same 3x telephoto from the last generation, which is fine, I guess. Still means you're dealing with basically an S24 level camera setup here, definitely a necessary upgrade even if it's not particularly exciting. Most of what's new on the software side of the Fold has to do with Galaxy AI. And in One UI 6.1.1, Samsung is saying this is the 2nd generation of that AI initiative it started back with the S24 in January. What that means is new features of course, and a more prominent placement for Galaxy AI in the settings app here. The most impressive of these is Sketch to Image, which works exactly as you might imagine. Using the S Pen, which once again is a separate accessory you'll need to pick up, ideally with a compatible case, you can sketch out basic outlines of a drawing and get Galaxy AI to do the rest, with a suitable selection of artistic styles to choose from. And the same trickery can be employed to sketch on your own photos too, for results with varying degrees of absurdity. The new Portrait Studio is also pretty cool and coming to the Flip as well, and it can take pretty much any photo, however unflattering, and turn it into an AI enhanced and stylized portrait, again with a selection of style presets here. Interpreter mode was debuted on the S24 and there's an updated version of it on the Fold 6. Samsung has copied one of the best features of Google's Pixel Fold here, with a new conversation mode using both the inner and outer screens. So with the phone propped up, it's easier for each person to see their language. Meanwhile, the call translation feature from the S24 is being opened up to calls in third-party apps, which is great to see as someone that tends to make more WhatsApp calls than I do regular voice calls. Meanwhile, the new AI Message Composer feature, which works with Samsung's own mail app as well as third-party offerings, can help you craft messages based on just a brief prompt input. These are still kind of baby steps, but we're seeing AI spread more throughout One UI in a way that's eventually going to see reaching more parts of the OS, just like it does on a Google Pixel or with Apple Intelligence in iOS 18. So that's the Fold 6. Pricing for this one is unchanged from last year, with the base model still coming in with 12 gigs of RAM and 256 storage. The new Z Flip 6 is also part of this second-gen Galaxy AI push, with the same interpreter features using both displays, and new AI-based predictive chat responses that learn your style from your message history with individual contacts. Obviously, the outer screen is much smaller, so this is an interesting use of machine learning to actually ensure you don't need to try and type on it, but can still fire off quick, useful responses that sound like the way you normally write. And Samsung's also doubled down on its cover screen widgets from the Flip 5, with fun new interactive options including motion-sensitive ones like this, and new AI wallpaper suggestions similar to the iPhone's duotone and colorized wallpapers. With the Flip though, the biggest differences I think are in the hardware. The cameras now have this neat little ring accent to them, kind of giving off a snap spectacle sort of vibe. The back glass and metal trim now have a frosted finish, making for a bit of a sharper look that matches the larger foldable. And like the Fold, this year's Flip also has rock-solid build quality and a hinge that feels great, just a little firmer than the old Flip 5. Lots of important hardware upgrades on the inside too. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, now 12 gigs of RAM as standard, and a 4000 mAh battery. So between the more efficient chip and almost 10% larger cell, Samsung's addressing one of the smaller foldable's biggest pain points. And if you're gaming on this thing, there's a new vapor chamber heatsink included for the first time in a Flip, which should hold off thermal throttling for a little bit longer. The other weaknesses of the Flip line historically has been its camera system, so it's great to see the same 50 megapixel main and updated 12 megapixel ultrawide from the Fold now included in the smaller model. Camera hardware had definitely felt like kind of an afterthought in the past couple of generations, so this is a fantastic update to see. And in line with photography, the auto zoom feature can automatically frame your selfies when propped up at a 90-degree angle, and now supports ultra-wide all the way up to a 3x digital zoom. So with these foldables here, there might not be any revolutionary changes on the hardware side. If you're looking for super thin and light like you'd get from say a Moto Razr or an Honor Magic Foldable, that's not what Samsung's about. But it's clear where the company's priorities do lie, in keeping things like robust water resistance, wireless charging, and superior durability, and chipping away at these iterative updates that, over the course of a couple of generations, actually add up to some pretty big changes. If you've got a Fold 4 or a Flip 4, I think both should be very compelling upgrades, with the biggest benefits being the much lighter form factors than the 2022 models, and improved build quality plus more efficient, long-lasting performance. Samsung's also got 3 new wearables on the way, 2 for your wrist and 1 for your finger. The Galaxy Ring was widely teased at Mobile World Congress, and I got a pretty good look at it back then, but this was my first time actually being able to try on Samsung's tiniest smart wearable. The idea behind this device is it replicates a lot of the background health tracking capabilities of a smartwatch, only without taking up space on your wrist. That's obviously a big deal for things like sleep tracking, which is just one of the things this wearable can do. So it's constructed out of grade 5 titanium, comes in 3 colors, with this concave design that makes it seem a little bit less bulky than it might otherwise feel. It's water resistant up to 100 meters, so you'll be able to shower or swim with it without issue, and battery life is slated to last up to 7 days, though this may vary depending on the size of ring you pick up. It's available in sizes ranging from a US 5 to 13, and Samsung will have a sizing kit available to help you pick the right fit. And when you do need to charge it, you can use this little charging puck sort of thing that's kind of reminiscent of a Nothing earbuds case. Like an earbuds charging case, the charger itself also has a small battery built in. So the Ring is all about passive health tracking, and it can help you with everything from sleep tracking to resting heart rate monitoring and basic exercise like walks and runs. And it can also help with cycle tracking based on overnight skin temperature to help predict menstrual cycles. So it can do all this on its own, but if you are using it with a Galaxy Watch, then it's also not redundant because you're just adding more data points for the Samsung Health app to work with. That's especially important in building a better overall picture of your health with Samsung's energy score and wellness tips. The Galaxy Ring is compatible with phones running Android 11 and up. Sorry, iPhone fans, you'll need to wait for the inevitable Apple Ring at some point in future. But if you use it with a Galaxy device, you'll also benefit from additional gesture controls like a pinch to take photos or double pinch to dismiss alarms. It's also locatable via Samsung Find too, which is important for such a highly losable piece of technology. So it's not cheap, but it's an interesting piece of kit that could be a really good alternative to a smartwatch for a lot of people, or for others to build on the data their watch is already capturing for a more complete picture of their health. If that wasn't enough, Samsung also has 2 new actual smartwatches to add to its lineup, the Galaxy Watch 7 and Watch Ultra. Starting off with the regular Watch 7, this is very much a continuation of the minimalist sport watch design we saw with the Watch 6. Same great rotating bezel controls and fairly gender neutral but smart appearance. It comes in 40 and 44mm flavors and of course is designed to work best with a Galaxy phone. On the inside, Samsung's stepping up to a new 3nm processor, an Exynos W1000 chip it says is 3 times faster than the previous gen. And there's also an improved bioactive sensor with 3 times as many LEDs for more accurate health metrics, plus dual frequency GPS for more precise tracking of runs and hikes. And despite this being very much a mainstream smartwatch, Samsung says it's the only watch on the market capable of tracking ECG, blood pressure and blood oxygen in one single device. Though obviously local regulators may have something to say about when and where those features are available. Samsung's also talking up the AI angle here too, with personalized heart rate zones for your workouts and automatic route detection if you regularly go running or hiking on the same route. Interestingly, if you use a Watch 7 with the Galaxy Ring, you'll also find the Ring's battery goes 30% further because presumably the watch picks up some of the slack in terms of health metrics when you're wearing both at the same time. The Galaxy Watch Ultra represents a whole new kind of smartwatch for Samsung. Take one look at the design and it'll be pretty obvious what they're shooting for here, with this very clear challenger to the Apple Watch Ultra. With the 47mm case size, it's similar physically to Apple's largest smartwatch, with a cushion design that sort of incorporates a round watch face into a sort of rounded rectangle chassis. The chassis is built out of grade 4 titanium. Like the Galaxy Ring, it's water resistant up to 100 meters and built to military standard 810H for extreme durability in outdoor conditions. Plus, it's built to withstand extreme temperatures of -20 to +55 Celsius, or to be used from 500 meters below sea level to 9,000 above, which is more than you can say for the human body on both counts. And for extreme brightness and darkness, Samsung has included up to 3000 nits of peak display brightness and additional nighttime watch faces in red for easier use in the dark. Exercise-wise, the Ultra builds on the Galaxy Watch 7's functionality with specific interface tiles for triathlons, letting you sequentially add workouts as you go. Plus new watch faces to let you compare current and past workouts with real-time feedback on how you're doing. I only had a brief time with Samsung's new smartwatches, but the thing that stood out to me the most is that the Ultra in particular is an extremely well-built watch that really does mean business. Like the Apple Watch Ultra, it's not for most people, but like its main rival, it also covers a lot of important extra bases for more advanced fitness tracking and better reliability in harsh environments. Finally, the Galaxy Buds 3 series, which consists of the open-type Buds 3 and Buds 3 Pro, which have rubber in-ear tips. The biggest difference externally for these new earbuds is the fun lighting system here that can be there just to look cool, but also helps out with locating the buds and telling you when they're pairing. A neat new Galaxy AI feature for both sets of buds is interpreter mode. Similar to the same feature on Samsung's phones, it can listen out for a particular language and then translate in real time. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to try this out specifically, but it certainly sounds like a really curious step towards a Star Trek-style universal translator, so should be interesting to see how it shapes up in the real world. Samsung is also getting smarter with its ANC, active noise cancellation. ANC can now toggle modes depending on what kind of noise is outside, so dialed all the way up on a construction site or in transparency mode when it detects a conversation. And Samsung's AI super clear call tech has been improved too with a 16 times larger training model. And being a Pro, the Galaxy Buds Pro does all of the above while also boasting improved sound quality thanks to its dual amplifier and enhanced two-way speaker with 40 kHz response. So that's our first look at Samsung's late 2024 lineup, a pretty big loadout of new stuff that gives Samsung a stronger ecosystem than ever as we await the iPhone and Pixel launches in the coming weeks. Let me know in the comments if you're tempted by any of these new Galaxy toys, and especially if you plan on upgrading from an earlier model. Stick around and subscribe for more on the new foldables coming very soon, but in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.